Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon the Holy Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, and his immaculate progeny, Ahlul Bayt. Dear brothers and sisters all over the world, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to yet another edition from series of Quran Quest. Series of shows which try to have a thematic exegesis of the Holy Quran. In our recent shows, we started a discussion on the holy life of the Prophet of Islam from a Quranic perspective. In fact, we have been talking about the events which happened on the years of after Hijrah and migration of the Holy Prophet to Medina. We talked about the 6th and 7th year of after Hijrah. Inshallah, in this very show we shall be continuing to other years of after Hijrah and the important events which needs to be in fact discussed and clarified. That's inshallah we shall be benefited from the presence of Hujjatul Islam Sayyid Mohsin Akrami. But before starting the discussion and asking the first question of the day, I'd like to welcome him to the show, say salam to him, and thank for accepting the invitation.
In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah. And I want to say hello to all the respected viewers, and I wish all of them, I hope all of them will be healthy.
Thank you very
inshallah.
much. Sayyid Mohsin, if you remember, we have been talking about the events which happened at the 7th year after Hijrah and migration of the Holy Prophet. We talked about the spread of Islam to different parts of the world and the letters of invitation of the Holy Prophet to different leaders of the world and the emperors of the world. And also the question which we were looking for to find its answer was the story of pilgrimage of that time. What happened? Because in the previous year of that is in the 6th year of Hijrah, we had the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, and it was supposed to allow and permit Muslims to have their pilgrimage in the next year, that is in the 7th year. So what happened to this story and what is needed to be known and to be understood by the respected brothers and sisters?
Yes. We will talk about the Treaty of Hudaybiyah.
Yeah.
According this treaty, the tribes were free to join Muslims or the other group, Quraysh. So because of that, a treaty named Banu Khuza'ah wrote a treaty with Muslims and this tribe became actually a friend and ally of Islam.
Okay.
And on the other part, there were a tribe against this Banu Khuza'ah named Banu Bakr. This Banu Khuza'ah and Banu Bakr were hostile to each other for many years.
That's true.
And so Banu Khuza'ah became a friend of Islam, but Banu Bakr became and wrote a treaty with Quraysh and became a friend of the enemy of Islam, Quraysh.
Yes.
And according to the terms of the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, there shall be no aggression, there shall be no attack to the other group or their friends, their allies. So they have to stop the hostility between each other, this Banu Bakr and Banu Khuza'ah. But several months after the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, a band of warriors of Banu Bakr attacked Banu Khuza'ah and killed some of them suddenly in night.
Mm-hmm.
So, after that, you see the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, it's broken, because one of the terms and one of the important terms of the treaty now is broken.
Yeah.
So the Prophet was shocked to hear this story. And of course, the representatives of Banu Khuza'ah, which were the friend of Islam, went in Medina and demanding justice from the Holy Prophet. Eventually, the Prophet decided, after this happening and incident, the Prophet decided to actually capture the Mecca
That's true.
and make a conquest of Mecca.
Why? I mean, how come that the Prophet changes mind to become, I mean, the one who starts this war, or let's say, as you say, conquest of Mecca?
You know, we will mention how was this conquest, and you see, it was a kind of, you know, battle or fight or not.
Okay.
You know, and so the army of Islam, after this decision, the army of Islam left Medina in the 8th year of Hijrah.
Yeah.
And the news that the army of Islam is on the way reached Mecca. The army of Islam reached Mecca.
We are still on the 7th year, that's true.
No, in the 8th year.
Okay,
Yeah.
so before going and moving to the events of the 8th year, let's stop here and ask you some questions concerning the invitations of the Holy Prophet to the leaders. What happened? I mean, any reception from their side? Did they receive, I mean, the letters of the Holy Prophet? Were there any, let's say, in fact, inclination from the nations to Islam, from the nations which received these letters? What happened?
You know, I mentioned very shortly, briefly, that some of them, of course, all of them received the letters. But, for example, the Persian king tore the letter, and, you know,
were these letters, I mean, influential in the spread of Islam or not?
Yes, and you know, this was a reaction of Persian king. On the other hand, the Roman emperor received these. It was new for him, and he investigated about this new religion, and he, you know, of course, counsel with, you know, his
ministers. Let's say.
Yes, ministers. And but finally, because of you know, politics, and because
they did not accept that much.
Yes, they didn't accept to follow Islam,
and also the last question. There was supposed to, I mean, the Muslims were supposed to do their Hajj and Umrah on the 7th year. Was it happened or no?
No, and after that, the conquest of Mecca happened.
Okay, in the 8th year.
Yes, in the 8th year. Okay. So when the Muslims drew near Mecca, the Prophet said that all those Meccans who would enter, you know, the Holy Prophet made some conditions for Meccans in order to prevent their, you know, lives. The Prophet ordered that if you wanna, those Meccans who entered the house of Abu Sufyan, you know, Abu Sufyan was, you know, has a great place of Quraysh, and one of the important figures of Quraysh. Someone who entered his house, and or the persons who stay in their homes, and the persons who enter the area of Kaaba, they all of them will be safe. And you know, you can see with these conditions, the Holy Prophet wanted no one will be killed.
In fact, it's sort of bloodless war.
Actually, the conquest of Mecca was a bloodless conquest.
Very good.
Yes. And so, of course, on the other hand,
when, I mean, the number of Muslims in comparison with the infidels and unbelievers were too few, let's say. So how come that, I mean, infidels and unbelievers accepted?
Little by little, the Muslims and the tribes that joined Muslims and professed Islam,
they made a large
all
number
of them. Yes, all of these led to
growth of Islam.
Yes, the growth of Islam.
Yeah.
So that, and on the other hand, the Prophet also, the Holy Prophet ordered the Muslims not to kill anyone. except to defend yourself. You see, it
No,
was
killing
a
should be
kind of
happened.
battle or not. And if you remember 8 years earlier, these pagans of Mecca persecuted Muslims. They how many different kinds of persecution they made to the
Against
Holy
Muslims.
Prophet against Muslims. But the Holy Prophet didn't do that against them. In the opposite, the Holy Prophet ordered the Muslims not to kill them, not to persecute them.
Right.
So after that, the Mecca
Was captured.
Yes, was captured without any bloodshed,
Very good.
without shedding any blood. And the Prophet went to the Kaaba, and there were many idols in the Kaaba. The historians said that about 360 idols were inside the Kaaba. The Prophet went inside the Kaaba and broke all those idols, yes, and reciting this verse.
He himself broke down the idol?
He himself in assistant, and of course he assisted Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, and he broke all the idols and recite this verse. The chapter 17 verse 81, وَقُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقِّ وَزَهَقَ الْبَاطِلِ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. Truth has come and falsehood has vanished.
Very.
And for falsehood is bound to vanish. And after that, the Kaaba, the house of God, has been purified.
So we have in the 8th year after Hijrah and migration of the Holy Prophet to Medina, we have the conquest of Mecca.
Yes.
And a bloodless, let's say, war and battle, which happened, which led to the freedom of Kaaba for the Muslims and for whoever is.
Yes. There was no bloodshed in this conquest.
Okay. Thanks again. So we are on the 8th year. Inshallah, we shall be continuing our discussion after a very short break. And you respected viewers, please stay tuned. We'll be back in a few seconds. We shall be continuing our discussion about the events of 8th year and onward, let's say, to 9 and 10 years after Hijrah. We'll be back in a few seconds. Welcome back to Quran and Today's Life, a discussion on the history of the life of the Holy Prophet of Islam from Quranic perspective. As the respected expert of the show, Sayyid Mohsen Akrami, said that Quran has not talked about the history of the Holy Prophet chronologically. That's why we jump from some years to the other years, as we have already seen. From the 2nd year, we jump to the 6th year. Now, we have been talking about the events on the 8th year after Hijrah and migration, and the most important of which was the conquest of Mecca. The rest of story from the explanations of Sayyid Mohsen.
Actually, the Prophet told the Meccans, according to a narration, he said, I will tell you what the Prophet Joseph, said to his brothers. And based on the verse, he said, قَالَ لَا تَثْرِيبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْيَوْمِ. It means there is no blame on you today. So that the Prophet told them, go now, all of you are free. Despite all those persecutions in the early days of Islam, but the Prophet didn't do persecution against Meccans, and the opposite, he said, go, all of you are free.
Very nice. And he forgave all of them.
Yes, forgave all of them. And actually, he declared a general amnesty in Mecca. And he forbade his army to plunder the city or to seize anything that belonged to the Quraysh.
What did the Holy Prophet Islam did specifically with Abu Sufyan and his family and his tribe and the people who were in his house?
Actually,
Forgave them,
yes,
like
actually, yes. He, according to a narration, he said, "Idhabu antum tulaqa." He said, "Go, all of you, are free." To Abu Sufyan and his family, and I mentioned that he said everyone goes to the house of Abu Sufyan is
free, is safe,
and safe, will be safe.
For sure, it's in the conduct of the prophets of Allah who, the, let's say, outstanding feature of their personality is forgiveness.
Yes.
Are we still on the 8th year of the migration of the Holy Prophet?
Yes, and after that there were something, the consequences of the. I want to talk a little bit about the consequences of the conquest of Mecca. Yes, and this conquest was very important. How this was an end to idol worshipping. And after that, there were no idols inside Kaaba. There were no idol worshipping, and by this conquest, the Prophet put an end to the idol worshipping. And after this conquest, different tribes of Arabian Peninsula they waited to see Quraysh, because Quraysh had a big role in Arabian Peninsula. After the conquest of Mecca, when Quraysh joined Islam and the Prophet's Islam, different tribes also came and became Muslim.
Right.
It was one of the.
So they felt free to come and enter and accept Islam.
Yes, yes. And on the other hand, when the old men came and took oath with the Holy Prophet after this conquest, of course the women came. And they wanted to take oath. Yes.
Pay allegiance with the Holy Prophet.
Yes, yes, with the Holy Prophet. And in this moment, a verse revealed to the Holy Prophet, that in the chapter 60, verse 12, Allah says, "Ya ayyuhan nabi, إذا جاءك المؤمنات يبايعنك على ألا يشركن بالله شيئا ولا يسرقن ولا يزنين ولا يقتلن أولادهن ولا يعصينك في معروف فبايعهن." O Prophet, if faithful women come to you to take the oath of allegiance to you, if they do these things, if they pledge not to worship any God except true God, Allah, if they pledge not to steal, not to commit adultery, nothing outside the marriage type, not to kill their children. It's in era of ignorance before the birthday of Islam. They used to kill their children, especially they used to kill the daughters,
kids.
The girls. And it was, one of the customs of the ignorant Arabs.
Yeah.
But in this verse, Allah says, take oath from them not to kill their children, by abortion or anything else. And if they pledge not to disobey the laws and principles of Islam, then accept their allegiance.
Okay.
So it was the one of the consequences of the conquest of the Mecca
In fact,
was
the allegiance that the Prophet made with the women.
with women, yes, with
Okay.
these conditions.
Can we move to 9th year after Hijrah now?
Yes. And after that, we want to talk about the 9th year of Hijrah.
Just to list, I mean, the important events of that year. What events do we have in this
One
year?
of the important events was the disavowal of unbelievers.
Okay.
And this disavowal is announced in
Very
this year.
True. Okay, so this is the most important one, as you said.
Yes.
Which happens, I mean, naturally in Hajj time.
Yes, yes.
Okay, what is the story of that?
Upon the conquest of Mecca, the foundation of Islam laid to propagate Islam and to, progress Islam more.
Mm-hmm.
So, and after this conquest, most of the residents and most of the villagers refrained from idol worshipping, and they joined to Muslims and they confessed Islam.
True.
And after that, Islam was more stronger,
Yeah.
was much more stronger than before.
Very true.
So the first verses of the 9th chapter of Quran, called chapter Tawbah, revealed to the Prophet.
Mm-hmm.
And the Prophet ordered Ali ibn Abi Talib to went to Mecca in the season of pilgrimage,
Yeah.
and to recite these verses, and we will mention the verses. And so the Ali ibn Abi Talib went Mecca, and in the season of pilgrimage, where there is a point here that in the season of pilgrimage, there were Muslims and unbelievers.
Mm-hmm.
The Muslims, of course, made Hajj, and the unbelievers made Hajj on their customs,
Okay.
on their different,
A combined Hajj it was.
Yes, they combined Hajj.
Even unbelievers were doing tawaf in their customs?
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
And we will talk about a little bit about genuine Hajj, the real Hajj that was
Practiced.
done by the Prophet Abraham,
Okay.
but they altered this genuine Hajj.
Very good. So, as you said, we have the disavowal of the infidels and its announcement by Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam at the season of Hajj.
Yes.
Is it now a part of Hajj? I mean, is it necessary to be done in Hajj time these days because of this sunnah and conduct that the Holy Prophet, in fact, innovated at that time?
Yes, but let's talk about this disavowal more,
Exactly.
and
Thank
then we will mention about.
Okay.
So in the chapter 9, the first verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بَرَاءَةٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ إِلَى الَّذِينَ عَاهَدتُّم مِّنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. This is a declaration of disavowal. This is a declaration of immunity.
Mhm.
This is a disavowal of unbelievers by Allah and His apostle towards those of the idolaters with whom you made an agreement. There was some treaties between Muslims and unbelievers.
Yeah.
Still there were treaties between them. But after revealing these verses, Allah ordered His Prophet to to declare that these kind of treaties is going to stop,
Right.
is going to an end. So after the revelation of these verses, as we said, the Prophet ordered Ali to go and recite
This announcement.
this announcement. So Imam Ali entered Mecca, and he informed everyone of the Holy Prophet's warning, and he recited by reciting this verse. And he said that I want to mention the 4 terms of this.
Just to be brief, I would be thankful if you be brief,
Yes,
because we have some less than 4 minutes to
he
5 minutes.
recited that God and his apostles dislike the unbelievers, and no unbeliever is allowed to perform the Hajj from next year on, and nobody is allowed to circumambulate the Kaaba with their customs. Some of them made circuits around Kaaba with naked body, and there was
Bad picture.
invented custom. And for the coming this is important, for the coming 4 months, the unbelievers are allowed to return to their native lands. After the expiration of these 4 months, there will not be any treaty for any unbeliever.
Okay. Where from these, unbelievers that treaty says that they should be back to, in fact, their own lands. Where were they from?
From in the season of pilgrimage, all the
But even in Mecca, as you said, we have still some infidels then. So if they want to do, for example, at the time of Hajj, they like to do their customs.
Some of them who were from out of Mecca,
they should be back to their
they
lands.
should be back to their native
Countries,
lands.
Okay,
And-
but those
and-
who were in Mecca,
Those who were in Mecca, Allah says,
they were not allowed
announced this is a wall.
Mhm.
That there was no treaty between us, between Muslims and them.
Okay. Well, thank you, Said Mohsen, for your nice explanations on the history of the holy life of the Holy Prophet, based on Quranic, in fact, instructions and teaching. And you, respected listeners and viewers, for watching us up to this point. I hope that you enjoyed this show, and it was quite informative for you as it was to us. Inshallah, in our last show, which will be the next show of us, would be the last show of this series of discussion. We shall finalize our discussion on the history and life of the Holy Prophet. Till then, have a very good time. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.